for overpayment ends causing financial loss to government. 2, full recovery be made or the accounting officer makes good the loss within 3 months from the adoption of this report. Query number 2, Right Honorable Speaker, is on management of payroll deductions. Under that, we have 2.1, unauthorized loan deductions. The audit report noted that management made unauthorized loan deductions totaling to 18,027,312 shilling. The deductions were from 15 employees that lacked letters of undertaking, although they existed in the active deductions. The committee observed the following. Nansana Municipal Council became a municipal council in 2016, hence the accounting officer's justification for unauthorized deduction is untenable. 2, unauthorized deductions by the district was contrary to section 2.1.2 and 2.1.4 of the service agreement between the government of Uganda and Uganda Consumers Lenders Association and Uganda Bankers Association. And therefore, we recommend the following. The accounting officer should be held personally liable for contravening the provisions of this guideline and should be reprimanded. 2, the accounting officer should ensure that all the deductions are backed by proper documentation as required by the set standards. Query number 2.2, delayed remittances of deductions to UCLA and UBA. The audit report noted that the municipal council made payroll deductions to UCLA and UBA, but these were not remitted concurrently with salary payments. The committee observed that delays in remitting deductions to these bodies could result to unnecessary default charges on employees. 2, the entity failed to remit deduction concurrently, contrary to paragraph 4.6.1 of the establishment notice number 2 of 2019. And so the committee recommends the following, that the accounting officer should ensure that payments and deductions are done concurrently and promptly. Right Honorable Speaker, under query 2.3, non-deductions of pay from political leaders. The audit report noted that the municipal council did not subject political leaders gratuity totaling to 10,408,800 shilling to computation of pay in IPPS, leading to an under-deduction of 3,122,640 shilling. The committee observed that although deductions of pay for political leaders was mandatory, the accounting officer had not effected the deduction contrary to section 19(1)(a) of the Income Tax Act. And as a result, the committee recommends the following. 1, the accounting officer recovers the amount in question from the affected political leaders or make good the loss within 3 months from the time of adoption of this report. 2, the PSST should reprimand the accounting officer and hold him personally liable for failure to perform its duties in line with section 19(1)(a) of the Income Tax Act. Right Honorable Speaker, under query number 3, access to payroll. And under that, 3.1, delayed access to payroll, to salary payroll. The audit report noted that 3 newly recruited transferred employees delayed to access payroll with delays ranging between 1 to 2 months. The accounting officer informed the committee that indeed the staff had some challenges in their verification credentials. However, corrective measures had been taken and they had already accessed. The committee noted that indeed, although there were challenges, corrective measures had been taken, and the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that all new staff promptly submit their documents in order to access payroll as early as possible. Under query number 3.2, delayed access to pension payroll. The audit report noted that 19 pensioners delayed to access the payroll with delays ranging between 31 days and 24 months, meaning 2 years. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that although the said pensioners had challenges in accessing pension payroll, corrective actions had been undertaken. The committee therefore recommends that the accounting officer should also ensure that all pensioners promptly submit their documents in order to ensure expeditious access to pension payroll. Under query number 4, internal control weaknesses, Right Honorable Speaker, the audit report noted that the municipal council did not prepare monthly wage, pension, and gratuity performance analysis and submitted quarterly returns on payroll to Ministry of Public Service. The committee observed that failure to submit returns lead to accumulation of arrears and under absorption of wage, pension, and gratuity. And also the municipal did not submit the report For 2020-2021, contrary to paragraph 2.1 of the Establishment Notice 1 of 2020. And as a result, we recommend that the accounting officer be held personally liable for failure to perform his duties in line with paragraph 2.1 of the Establishment Notice number 1 of 2020. The accounting officer should also strengthen internal control measures by submitting quarterly returns in compliance with the Establishment Notice. Right Honorable Speaker, under query 4.2, effectiveness and reliability of the IPPS and NID interface. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the interface was weak, an issue that cuts across all local government. The Ministry of Public Service was frequently introducing new payroll management systems without taking into consideration the capacity of the officers to use these systems. And as a result, we recommend the following. The accounting officer should ensure adequate capacity building on payroll management. But also, too, the committee recommends that the Minister of Public Service should develop a user-friendly payroll system and adequate plan for capacity building for the users. Query number 5, Right Honorable Speaker, is on receivables. The audit report noted that the Municipal Council reported receivable balance of 1,780,766,221 shilling in the financial year statement. in the financial statement. Right Honorable Speaker, the accounting officer explained that a total of Uganda shilling 682,248,488 shilling of these receivables comprise of deposit from YLP and OWEB groups, while 1,098,517,733 shilling was accrued local revenue. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee made the following observation. Much as the groups received the funds, there was no sign that these groups had the capacity to repay. Number 2, the Municipal Council did not have a clear recovery plan for WEP and YLP projects, hence the low recovery. As a result, we recommend the following. The accounting officer should ensure the development of a more effective recovery mechanism of YLP and OWEP funds. Number 2, the committee recommends that the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development should re-examine the implementation of YLP and OWEP in order to save future interventions. On payables, Right Honorable Speaker, the audit noted that outstanding payables amounting to 84,603,199 shilling by close of the financial year. The committee observed that efforts were made by the accounting officer to clear these outstanding debts, and we therefore recommended the following: that the accounting officer should desist from committing the local government to services they cannot pay for. 2, the accounting officer should ensure that the outstanding balance is budgeted for and cleared to avoid litigation. Under query number 7, Right Honorable Speaker, implementation of the approved budget. Right Honorable Speaker, under that query 7.1, existence of strategic plans that are aligned to National Development Plan 3. The audit report noted that the entity's strategic plan had not been approved at the time of the audit. The committee observed that there was laxity by the accounting officer in expediting the process of approval of the strategic plan. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that the entity complies with the requirements and have its plan in line with the National Development Plan 3. Query number 7.2, revenue performance. Under that, local revenue performance. The audit report noted that the Municipal Council budgeted to collect 6,165,559,000 during the financial year, but collected only 3,833,940,292 shilling, representing 62% performance.
Yes, there's a procedure matter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the chair of the committee, but it looks like most of the observations are more or less generic. The only difference is that they come from different entities. Because most of them are about staff payroll, remittance of deductions, and authorized loan deductions, misclassification of pension gratuity. I would suggest, isn't it procedure right that you only look out for specific observations in the different entities, and we ignore staff-related observations because they seem to be the same problems except the figures. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We cannot ignore the staff-related mismanagement because we want to know the actual persons. These are different entities. Even the figures are different. Why are we in a rush? We are here to work.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for your guidance. And so the district at 62% performance. The shortfalls in local revenue collection was 2,326,618,708 shilling, representing 38%. And Right Honorable Speaker, the justification for that was again related to the difficult COVID-19 period. And the recommendations that we gave as a committee is that the accounting officer should be a lot more proactive in ensuring that the local revenue enhancement committee is strengthened, and also the accounting officer should ensure that the entity looks for ways and broadens the local revenue base to improve service delivery in the municipal council. Right Honorable Speaker, on the performance of the Uganda Road Fund, the audit report noted that the municipal council had an approved budget of 3,315,118,656 shilling, but received 3,013,133,767 shilling, resulting into shortfall of 301,984,889 shilling, representing 9.1%. The realized amount, Right Honorable Speaker, included funding under the emergency intervention amounting to 1.2 billion. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the municipal council received insufficient funds, although they were reverted for the implementation of the undone work. The committee recommends that the Uganda Road Fund should ensure that funds are provided as planned to avoid interference with the approved work plan of the local government. Right Honorable Speaker, under status of implementation of plan road works, query 8.2, number 1, routine manual maintenance. The audit report noted that a total of 16.3 kilometers at an estimated cost of Uganda shilling 183 million was planned to be undertaken. However, audit revealed that 16.3 kilometers were actually undertaken at the cost of 109 million, leading to a saving of 73,298,770 shilling. The accounting officer, actually, the committee observed that the committee was availed with supporting documents relating to the saving and utilization of the funds. And indeed, Right Honorable Speaker, here the committee commends the accounting officer and recommends that more efforts be put to ensure value for money and save government funds in the implementation of programs. Right Honorable Speaker, under periodic maintenance, the audit report noted that a total of 2 kilometers at an estimated cost of 1,999,966,300 shilling was planned to be undertaken. However, it was noted that 1.1 billion, representing 103%, was spent on 2 kilometers, reflecting over expenditure of 51,408,546 shilling. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the additional money above the approved budget was money saved from the previous expenditure, as I had indicated. And the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that supervision is strengthened to ensure value for money. Right Honorable Speaker, under funding of road works, review of the Municipal Council Uganda Road Fund work plan indicated that out of the 147 kilometers of municipal roads, only 137 kilometers were funded by the Uganda Road Fund, leaving out 10 kilometers unfunded. The audit report noted that most of the affected roads were not funded, required routine mechanized maintenance. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the Municipal Council is challenged by inadequate funding to facilitate the long road network in the municipality. And therefore, we recommend that the Uganda Road Fund should ensure that funds are provided as planned to avoid interference with the approved work plans of the local government. Inspection of implemented road works. Under query 8.3, upgrade of Eastern Ring. the Eastern Ring Road. The Municipal Council undertook phase 2 and 3 of the upgrade of the Eastern Ring Road at a contract sum of 1,181 million under emergency intervention using the force on account mechanism. The works executed involve upgrade of 1.015 kilometer to bitumen standard, sectional stop pitching, and installation of culverts. Right Honorable Speaker, audit report noted that there are some sections of the road that required stone pitching which were not done. And this may lead to deterioration of the affected road section. Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the Municipal Council still has a challenge of inadequate release to facilitate the municipal approved work plan. And as a result, the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure resumption of work with strict supervision to ensure value for money. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to take members to page 60, which looks at the Youth Livelihood Program, and this indicates a status of recovery under query 9.1. The audit report noted that during the financial year 2016-2017 to 2020-2021, a total of 74 groups were funded to a tune of 568,915,000. However, by close of the financial year, only 95,978,735 had been recovered, leaving a balance of 486,336,265 shilling unrecovered. Right Honorable Speaker, the accounting officer informed the committee that management had come up with recovery plans as indicated below, and I refer members to the observation and recommendations as I had indicated before in as far as OWEP and YLP is concerned. Again, Right Honorable Speaker, the same with Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program on the same page. I refer members to read through the recommendations at the same. Right Honorable Speaker, I now take you to vote 780, another local government entity, Machindi Sabagabo Municipal Council, also with unqualified opinion. Right Honorable Speaker, query 1 is on payroll of salaries, pension, and gratuity. Query 1.1 looks at absorption of funds. The audit report noted that Uganda shilling 4 billion, and that is equivalent to 91%, was spent out of a total money received 4.44 billion, resulting into unspent balance of 421 million. The accounting office explained that the underabsorption partly related to pension and gratuity, and the affected individuals delayed to submit relevant documentation, for example, letter of administration, and in some cases there were disagreement among the beneficiaries, and in addition, the underabsorption also arose due to failure to recruit. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed the following. There was late recruitment which was conducted in February, yet the Municipal Council had budgeted for wages for the whole financial year, and therefore the staff were only paid from January to June, leading to money being swept back to consolidated fund. There was also no proof that the Municipal Council had reached out to the affected pensioners' families in a bid to support them and find means of addressing some of the challenges limiting them from accessing pension, payroll, and payment of gratuity. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee therefore recommends the following. 1, the PSST should reprimand the accounting officer and hold him personally liable for failure to implement the recruitment plan as required, leading to return of unspent monies to the consolidated fund. 2, the accounting officer ensures that all approved plans, including recruitment, be implemented within the approved period to avoid returning funds to Treasury. 3, the accounting officer develops a mechanism to reach out and support pensioners to access their benefits without causing unnecessary delays. And the accounting officer who failed to ensure timely access and payment of pensioners' benefit be held personally liable and subjected to disciplinary action. And here, Right Honorable Speaker, the accounting officer we are recommending to be held personally liable is Mr. Richard K. Monday, and the human resource officer is Nantege Farida. Right Honorable Speaker, under query 1.2, overpayment of salary, the audit report noted that Uganda shilling 8,992,140 shilling was overpaid to 9 staff. The accounting officer explained that an analysis was made and it was realized that only 3 staff were overpaid, and thus full recovery had been made on the 3. The remaining staff were new recruits, thus no overpayment was made. The committee observed that much as the municipal council had recovered the overpaid amount as indicated, the overpayment contravenes section BA 7 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2010. Therefore, the committee recommends that the PSST should hold the accounting officer personally liable and have him reprimanded for contravening section BA 7 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2010. 2, the accounting officer going forward should carry out proper reconciliation before any payments are made to avoid such occurrences. Now, query number 1.3, Right Honorable Speaker, is on computation of gratuity. The audit report noted that the Municipal Council had wrongly computed gratuity benefits of 4 pensioners, thus 9,709,876 shilling was underpaid. The accounting officer, Honorable Speaker, acknowledged the errors in the computation and noted that a review had been carried out awaiting authorization from the Ministry of Public Service to upload the gratuity arrears. The committee observed that the accounting officer had taken efforts to ensure payment of the arrears through communication to the Ministry of Public Service. The committee recommends that the PPST should reprimand the accounting officer and hold him personally liable for contravening paragraph L, D, 1 and 2 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2010. 2, the accounting officer going forward should carry out proper reconciliation before any payment are made to avoid, again, similar occurrences. Query number 1.4, Right Honorable Speaker, is on delayed deletion of staff from payroll. The audit report noted that 20,892,893 shilling was irregularly paid to 9 staff who had either retired, transferred services, or absconded, or even died. The accounting officer explained that there were delays in accessing the posting instructions for the teachers, thus the delayed deletion. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that 1, the continuous stay on the payroll leads to financial loss to government, thus the need to put safeguards in place. 2, management had taken measures in recovering this money that was irregularly paid. And therefore, the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure prompt deletion of staff who have retired, absconded, transferred services, or died from payroll to avoid similar occurrences. Query number 2.0, Right Honorable Speaker, is on management of payroll deductions. Again, we observed that the audit report revealed that unauthorized loan deductions were made totaling to 29,407,510 shilling from 27 employees. The committee observed that measures had been undertaken, corrective measures by the entity, and also that all the loan guarantee letters originated from the banks, and therefore the employees were at the mercy of the banks. They were not being safeguarded. There was also no copies of loan guarantee letters. And as a result, the committee recommended the following. The accounting officer or the entity should play a cardinal role in the initiation, processing, and approval of all loan deductions. 2, the accounting officer should ensure that all loan deductions are backed by adequate documents. Right Honorable Speaker, again on page 66, we have under query 2.2, delayed remittance of deductions to ICLA and UBA. When you look through the observations, Right Honorable Speaker, we observed that corrective measures had been taken, and again we emphasize that the accounting officer should ensure that actions are taken promptly. Query number 2.3, non-deductions of pay from political leaders. The audit report noted that 3,439,340 gratuity for political leaders was not computed for pay, and therefore Uganda shilling 3,015,540 shilling was undeducted. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee again observed that although deductions of pays for political leaders was mandatory, the accounting officer had not effected the deductions, contrary to the provision of the Income Tax Act. And as a result, the committee recommends that the PSST should reprimand the accounting officer for contravening Section 19(1)A of the Income Tax Act and causing financial loss to government. 2, the accounting officer should recover the amount in question from the political leaders affected or make good the loss within a period of 3 months from the time of approval of this report. Right, Honorable Speaker, under query 3.0, access to payroll. And under that, 3.1, delayed access to salary payroll. The audit noted that 4 newly recruited staff or transferred employees delayed to access payroll. The committee noted that although the said staff had challenges in delays accessing their payroll, corrective measures had been undertaken. The committee therefore recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that all newly recruited staff promptly submit their documents in order to access payroll timely. Right, Honorable Speaker, again, delayed access to pension payroll. The audit report noted that 4 pensioners delayed to access their pension payroll. The committee observed that although the pensioners had challenges, again, corrective measures had been taken. And the committee recommends that the accounting officer, again, should ensure that all pensioners promptly receive their benefits and should be supported to have all the documentation processes concluded timely. Right, Honorable Speaker, on salary payment to teachers with inadequate records. The audit report noted that Uganda shilling 83,688,411 shilling was paid to 8 teachers who did not have the necessary academic documents, appointment letters, registration numbers, minute extract on their personal files to support their existence. Right, Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that although the anomalies, the accounting officer explained that these were secondary school teachers who were appointed and posted by the Ministry of Education, and during COVID-19 restrictions, the teachers could not submit the documents. And we observe as a committee that although the anomalies were noted, corrective measures had been taken and the documents were made available. The committee therefore recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that all the requisite documents for appointment of employees are kept on their files. Right, Honorable Speaker, on mischarges of gratuity expenditure. The audit report noted that 304,575,692 shilling were charged on wrong codes. The accounting officer acknowledged their anomalies and actually committed himself to taking corrective measures. The committee noted that the explanation given and recommended that the accounting officer should at all times ensure that payments are effected using the right codes, because anything sort of that is a violation of the said standards. Right, Honorable Speaker, again on system challenges, we provided recommendations, and I would request members to look through for purposes of saving time. And on payables, right, Honorable Speaker, again under OWEP and YLP, we have provided the same recommendations because recovery is extremely poor, as indicated, and the recommendations are also outlined. Right, Honorable Speaker?
And maybe, Clerk, what you need to do is capture the whole report and have it in the answer.
Thank you, Right, Honorable Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, again on page 73, on query 8.2, which talks about local revenue performance. Again, it is noted, the poor performance is noted, resulting from the COVID-19 lockdown, as indicated, and we have provided recommendations, and are not different from what we had provided before. Under query 9, road fund releases. Query 9.1, performance of the Uganda Road Fund. Right, Honorable Speaker, the audit report noted that whereas Uganda shilling 1,371,574,000 was approved budget, Uganda shilling 1,174,566,256 shilling was received, leaving a shortfall of Uganda shilling 197,007,744 shilling, totaling to 14.5%. In addition, Right Honorable Speaker, 1.85 billion was received for emergency intervention, giving a total of 3,024,566,256 shilling. Our observation, Right Honorable Speaker, was that although there was a shortfall of 197 million of the approved budget, the entity received additional funding from government in form of emergency funding. And therefore, the committee recommended that the Uganda Road Fund should ensure that these funds are provided for as planned and released timely to avoid interferences with the approved work plans of the local governments. Right Honorable Speaker, again, on page 74, we provided details on the status of implementation of planned road works, and we also provided details of the audit report noted that 19.1 kilometer at estimated cost of 70 million was planned, but 152 million was used as was the approved change in work plan, and the money was not available. Right Honorable Speaker, we also noted as a committee, we observed that it was irregular for the municipality to spend beyond the budgeted amount without the required approvals of the District Roads Committee. And also poor planning, the fact that the entity spent 100% above the approved budget. Right Honorable Speaker, their approved budget was 70 million, but they ended up spending 152 million. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that adequate planning to avoid encroaching on funds that are meant for other activities. Right Honorable Speaker, on payment for incomplete works, the audit report noted that 98.9% of the contract sum, that is 3,534,950,779 shilling, had been paid to the contractor, yet the civil works on the drainage and walkways were still ongoing. The Auditor General also noted a balance of 40 million as deemed to be insufficient to cover the outstanding works and the retention money. Furthermore, the Auditor General reported that paying for incomplete works was irregular. Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, procedure matter.
Yes, Madam Speaker, under Rule 41, it tells me here that this is the time for the Prime Minister. Are we proceeding well?
But do you understand the kind of report that you're listening to? You do appropriation of money in this house. You give money to communities, to districts, to MDS. You need to know how that money is used. Even the Prime Minister, actually it is to the benefit of the Prime Minister that she gets to know how these institutions use the money that she gives to them. Issues of time, is that rule entrenched? Honorable Member, is it entrenched? Okay. By powers invested on me, I am suspending the rule, and we hear the report with the permission from Madam Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, for purposes of saving time, again, permit me to now give just a summary so that I... Right Honorable Speaker, I had indicated payment for incomplete, for works that is not complete as observed by the audit report. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the municipality irregularly effected payment for works that were still ongoing, contrary to required accounting and procurement regulations. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should always adhere to strict accounting and procurement regulations to save the entity from losing money and government from losing money. Right Honorable Speaker, under query 9.4, delayed completion of works, the audit report noted that works are delayed and there was no evidence availed to show the contract extension beyond the original contract end date. The committee observed that the contractor had failed to complete the project within the contract period, and the committee noted the laxity by the project management team to enforce the completion of the said project. The committee therefore recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that the contractual obligations are strictly adhered to. Right Honorable Speaker, on Youth Livelihood Program under Query 10, again it gives the status of YLP, and we have provided details, Right Honorable Speaker. The recommendations and observations are not different, and I refer you to previous recommendations that we gave concerning YLP. Right Honorable Speaker, under Vote 781, Chira Municipality, it had unqualified opinion. Again, Right Honorable Speaker, under Payroll Management, we have budgeting for salary, pension, and gratuity, and submission of wage. It's to guide members, it's on page 77. For those who are following the report, the committee made observations that non-submission of wage estimates in time leads to distortion of budgeting processes, and the municipal council did not submit the wage estimates contrary to paragraph 2.2 of the establishment notice number 1 of 2019. And therefore, the committee recommends that the PSST should all accountable, the accounting officer should be held personally liable for failure to perform its duties. And this accounting officer, Right Honorable Speaker, is Mr. Benon Yiga. Under absorption of funds, Right Honorable Speaker, the audit report noted that 5.5 billion was spent out of a total of 5.7, resulting into an unspent balance of 160 million. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that there was no recruitment conducted leading to sweeping back of the money to the consolidated fund. And therefore, we recommend that, again, the PSST should reprimand and hold this accounting officer personally liable for failure to implement the recruitment plan as required, leading to return of unspent monies to the consolidated fund. But we also recommend that the accounting officer should ensure that all approved work plans, including the recruitment plan, is implemented within the approved period to avoid returning funds to Treasury. Right Honorable Speaker, under Query 1.3, payment of salary using wrong scales, again, we have provided recommendations because we observed that payment of staff salaries based on wrong salary scales was indicative of fraudulent actions and a breach of Section BA6 and 7 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2010. But again, we also observe reluctancy by the accounting officer and the human resource officer in updating annual increments on the salaries of staff. And therefore, we recommend that the PSST should all accountable and reprimand the accounting officer and the human resource officer. In this case, the human resource officer is Sisi Nabwami. Both of them should be held accountable for contravening the sections I quoted above. And we also recommend that the accounting officer should ensure that the staff underpaid receive their salary arrears immediately. Right Honorable Speaker, the audit report also noted wrong computation of gratuity, where the municipal council had wrongly computed gratuity benefits for pensioners, leading to overpayment of 15,675,224 shilling to 9 pensioners, and also underpaid an amount of 39,539,078 shilling to 6 pensioners. Indeed, the accounting officer acknowledged the anomaly. And so, the committee observed that the accounting officer wrongly computed benefits for pensioners, leading to loss of funds, and also 9 pensioners were underpaid due to wrong computation of their benefits. And so we recommend that the PSST should reprimand this accounting officer and the human resource officer and hold them personally liable for causing financial loss to government amounting to 15,675,224 shilling. The accounting officer should also ensure full recovery of the overpaid money or make good the loss within 3 months from the time of adoption of this report. The accounting officer should also ensure that the pensioners underpaid due to wrong computation receive their arrears with immediate effect. And also the accounting officer going forward should carry out proper reconciliation before any payments are made to avoid such occurrences. Right Honorable Speaker, on delayed deletion of staff from payroll, the audit report noted that 9,760,000 was paid to 9 staff who had retired. Again, the accounting officer acknowledged the delays in the deletion of the retired staff from payroll. The committee therefore observed that continuous stay on the payroll leads to financial loss to government, and therefore they need to put safeguards in place. The accounting officer and the human resource officer failed to delete retired staff from payroll contrary to section BA12 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders. And so, the committee recommends that the PSST should reprimand the accounting officer and the human resource officer, and I mentioned their name, for causing financial loss to government amounting to 9,760,000 shilling. And they should also make full recovery of the monies irregularly paid or make good the loss within 3 months from the time of adoption of this report. Right, Honorable Speaker, under query 1.6, management of payroll deductions, they are not different from what I read before, and I therefore, through you, Right Honorable Speaker, request that members look through for purposes of saving time. Again,
you can tell us the accounting officers that should
thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This is still
accountable per district.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This particular entity, the accounting officer for the financial year under review, again, is for Chira Municipality, as I had mentioned, Mr. Benon Yiga. Right Honorable Speaker, again, the audit report noted that the municipal did not include deduction of leaders that gratuity amounting to 10,051,800 in the computation of pay, leading to under deduction.
Go to a district or a municipality, tell us the accounting officers, since we have cross-cutting issues.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, based on your guidance, I'll ask members to go to page 83 of the report, which looks at access to payroll. We have made observations and recommendations. They are not different from what we made before. I will take you to page 84, where we recommended under delayed access to pension payroll, where 16 pensioners delayed to access pension payroll for 24 months, and we recommended that this was in total contravention of paragraph 5.1 of the Establishment Notice 1 of 2024 for pensioners to take 2 years without accessing their benefits, and we recommend that the accounting officer and the human resource officer be held personally liable and be reprimanded by the PSST, and still this is the accounting officer I mentioned before for Chira Municipality. Right
go to page 92, Mityana District, mention the accounting officers responsible.
Thank you, Right Honorable.
Go to Butambala.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Vote 568 Mityana District Local Government, which had unqualified opinion, Right Honorable Speaker, and the accounting officer at that time or for the financial year under review is Mr. Musinje Edward, and the human resource officer, Mr. Sekate Samuel. Right Honorable Speaker, again, when you look at this report on page 92, looks at absorption of funds, where a total of 700 million was unabsorbed. And Right Honorable Speaker, about 500 million of the total was meant for payment of salaries for teachers, and it was returned back to Treasury. Right Honorable Speaker, there were also positions that they failed to fill. There were vacant positions, and we gave recommendations where we recommend that the Ministry of Education and Sport should ensure that strict and timely adherence to their recruitment plan to avoid delays in staff recruitment. But also we recommended that the accounting officer I mentioned before be reprimanded and held personally liable for failure to implement the recruitment plan, leading to return of monies unspent. On page 93, Right Honorable Speaker, overpayment of salary, again, 2.9 million was overpaid. We gave the same recommendation reprimand, and being held personally liable, but also recovery of the said amount, or the officer be forced to pay the money within a period of 3 months. On page 94, Right Honorable Speaker, under wrong computation of gratuity, again, there was an overpayment of 4.4 million and also an underpayment of 2.1 million. We gave our observation that this was in total contravention of paragraph LD 1 and 2 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders, and we recommended reprimand and holding the officers personally liable. We also recommended recovery of funds, or the officers will have to make good the losses. Right Honorable Speaker, on page 95, delayed deletion of staff from payroll, where a total of Uganda shilling 4 million was paid to 10 staff who had retired or even absconded or died. Again, we noted laxity on the side of the accounting officer, and no recovery had been done. We recommended that this accounting officer be held personally liable and reprimanded for breach of Section BA 12 of the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2010, and also recovery be made, or the officer make good the loss within 3 months from the time of adoption of this report. On page 96, Right Honorable Speaker, under over and under remittance, the audit report noted that there was under remittance and over remittance.
Chair, these are cross-cutting issues. I said give us the name of the officers.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then you go to vote 608, give us the names of the officers. Go to vote 502, give us the names of the officers, because we expect a treasury memorandum out of this from the ministry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I will therefore take you to page 109, vote 608, Butambala District Local Government, which had unqualified opinion. Right Honorable Speaker, the accounting officer for the financial year under review is
who is the accounting officer? Honorable Chivombi?
The accounting officer for Butambala. I would like to make correction, Right Honorable Speaker. For Mitiana District Local Government, the accounting officer is Mr. Emmanuel Ofono, and the Principal Human Resource Officer, Mr. Muchibi Hussein, while for Butambala District Local Government is the one I mentioned before, Mr. Musinje Edward, and the Principal Human Resource Officer, Mr. Sekata Samuel. Right Honorable Speaker, we look through. I would request members to go through again as you advise. There are recommendations including reprimand, recovery of funds, and other suggestions that we provided. Right Honorable Speaker, based on your advice, I will request that through you we move to the next entity. And this is Apache District Local Government. Right Honorable Speaker, for Apache District Local Government, vote 502, a qualified opinion. And there are very serious issues, Right Honorable Speaker, that I needed to go through with your permission. But if...
they are cross-cutting.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. But just to mention this, there are several instances where contractors are paid without finishing irregularly, a lot of irregularities, and we have made observation. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, the next entity, Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, for Apache District Local Government, the accounting officer for the financial year under review is Mr. Wanje Aromoda. Right Honorable Speaker, it's important to note that this officer is already under interdiction for other related issues, and the Principal Human Resource Officer, Mr. Zovan Jokene. These are the officers who executed the programs under the financial, in the financial year under review. Right Honorable Speaker, With your guidance, these are the 6 local government entities covered in this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chairman. When you listen to the Chairman and look at his report, most of the issues are cross-cutting. There is a mismatch between recruitment plan and the actual recruitment, which is contrary to Section 1315D, 15.1, 17.3 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015, which is leading to a total loss of 421 million shillings. And that money should have been to our consolidated fund account. Then there is, secondly, there is a lapse in the payroll management, characterized by overpayment of people who have retired, people who have left the service, and the people who died, all those kind of people. Maybe these are ghost workers, which is really a breach on paragraph L to D, I, and then 2 on section BS of the Public Service Standing Orders, and section 19(1) of the Income Tax Act and the Public Finance Management Act. All these things have been erased. Payment of contractors before they finish their work, they show the work. And one thing we need to, Prime Minister, the tendency that is there is that once they find that this accounting officer has this problem, they transfer. That is recycling problems from one area to the other. And how we wish as a house this time around that you terminate, you remove an accounting officers. There are so many accounting officers out there who are looking for jobs. But if you're going to get an accounting officer from a patch and take him to Gulu, he takes the same character to Gulu, you take to Kakumiro, what are you solving? We are losing a lot of money. We are saying government is not giving money, but when it is individuals, how do you spend, instead of spending 70 million, you're spending 150 without authorization from a PSST? Are we still following the law? Or are we having another whole kind of work in institutions not under your leadership? Yes. We start with the youth.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mayanja Alan, Member of Parliament from Nakaseke Central.
Sorry if that hurts, but he's a youth. He's not an off-layer like Sarah.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, my issue is on overpayment. In fact, you have talked about it, and then you said that these officers should be terminated. Shouldn't not only be terminated, but they should also be prosecuted, and then their goods or their properties should be put on action, and then they have to pay back the money. And lastly, it's about overpayment. We should create, the ministry should create an automated retirement monitoring system, because we are in a digital era or in digital world, whereby the ministry should change from analog to the digital world. Maybe that's how we can overcome this overpayment in the
Honorable Alan is adding on top of dismissal or whichever, you should also prosecute these members and recovery of the funds lost, which is a very good thing. Commissioner? Members, we agreed, and we are not going to have, these were very direct issues, We will want to hear from the minister on the action they are going to take. And remember, we still have other items. So we will have a debate of only about 5 members.
Right Honorable Speaker, I have always observed the Prime Minister here, the Right Honorable Robina Nabanja,
Honorable Nabanja Robina,
fighting with people who are misusing, accounting officers who are misusing government resources. I think she's one of the champions of fighting, and I want to thank her for that. And I know, Right Honorable, the recommendations that we are going to make, I know she's going to follow up very fast to see that these individuals are reprimanded and brought to book, because she has always been leading by example, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this time round, we should bite. We have talked, and talked until we cannot talk anymore. Right Honorable Speaker, look at an accounting officer who is making payments before the contract work is over. This is outright corruption. This is outright impunity. I want us today, honorable members, and seek your indulgence as Parliament. Let us take a strong decision, including interdiction of these accounting officers who are doing a disservice to this country, because the impunity with which I take the information, Honorable.
Honorable members, you may not have the mandate to interdict. Listen. You may not have the mandate to interdict, but you have powers to urge the ministry. You have powers to recommend that this is what should be done. So the honorable member is recommending that, because of what is happening in these districts, in these municipalities, we as Parliament should recommend, and we are recommending. If you have relatives who are there, we are going to do this without fear or favor.
Yes.
He was giving information.
Yeah. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank Honourable Member for giving me way. Right Honourable Speaker, on the recoveries, I remember Parliament has been recommending about the recoveries of funds for so many years. And up to now, the minister is not coming on the floor of Parliament telling us how much has been recovered. Therefore, this time, Right Honourable Speaker, let the minister come and report to Parliament how much has been recovered from those people. I beg to go.
First of all, we also need a treasury memoranda of all the reports that we passed, even previously. We need the action reports that you've taken. And we had tourism. We need the action reports by next week. Because what we are doing like here now, it is like we are having a talk show. It is business as usual. We need action reports.
Lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, I would request the Minister to give us timelines on when they are going to take action on these accounting officers, because some decisions we take as Parliament, the Minister will take as long as forever. So
the recommendation of Parliament takes immediate effect.
Timelines within which they are going to make
recommendation of Parliament takes immediate effect. Minister, that's why we suspended this debate the other day, because we wanted you in the House. We want actions to be taken. This time we should be seen as a biting institution. Sarah?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the elaborate report. However, first I want to request that the cross-cutting issues should have uniform recommendations, Right Honourable Speaker. When you read through the report, you will note that some of the issues, for example, I noted on the issue of recovery, of non-taxation of the political leaders' earnings. there was a contradiction on the recommendations to the accounting officers. One said, one was in future accounting officer should ensure, whereas elsewhere it is reprimanding the accounting officer. So there should be uniformity so that our report is not challenged.
Is the amount also uniform?
Right Honorable Speaker, the issue was on the principle that there was a non-deduction.
There is what they call materiality concept in accounting. In accounting, you look at what is materiality.
Right Honorable Speaker, that would require going through the report, but that's what I noted. Some of the monies were 3 million,
there is no
others 8 million.
There is no inconsistency in the report. Let's look at the materiality aspect. How much is the value that is being recommended?
Okay, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the second issue, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of concealing or failing to recruit staff and keeping positions for relatives. How I wish the committee had mentioned clearly the names of these local governments where this is taking place. Because this is terrible, that government releases funds for recruitment of staff and officers sit on the money waiting for particular, their relatives to graduate so that they can be recruited. This also should have come out clearly. And I want to request the committee, moving forward on those other reports, local governments that you are yet to bring their reports here, clearly state the names, because as you can see, when you were reading the report, the names were on a different sheet of paper, Right Honorable Speaker. Some of them even had abbreviations. How I wish the names could be mentioned in full. If you are talking of Sarah Opendi, let it be Sarah Opendi and not Sarah A. O. So the other issue, Right Honorable Speaker.
Maybe just on that one, there was an abbreviation.
Of K.
Of K. What was K?
Yes.
K Monday.
Yes. So the other issue, Right Honorable Speaker.
Can you get us the name?
I hope he gets the name. The other issue, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of unauthorized loan deductions from civil servants is a serious matter. And the report from the committee states that, for example, there was money lent to a teacher's circle, and the teachers' salaries, whether they took a loan or not, were deducted. And this has gone just like that. I want to request that the names of these public officers who deduct salaries from staff, it could be a deal between the human resource and somebody in accounts and somebody within public service. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to propose that this House recommends a forensic audit into these loan deductions, because even under Park Central, the health sector, it appeared health workers' salaries were being deducted, yet they have never taken loans, and it takes time to recover that money. Right Honorable Speaker, the other issue, these accounting officers, we are getting the report now. Can we look back? We request the minister to ensure that if this problem is recurring, maybe in the previous year the same accounting officer did this, these accounting officers should be dismissed. It cannot be a recurring problem from one financial year by the same accounting officer to the next. Otherwise, it becomes, Right Honorable Speaker, business as usual. Right Honorable Speaker, lastly,
Sarah, you're over-talking.
Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, can I conclude? I request that I conclude with the issue of the road fund, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, one of the recommendations.
Right Honorable Speaker. The Prime Minister, you have something to say?
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, first and foremost, I want to thank the committee, the members and the chairperson of the committee for a well-elaborated report. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to inform this House that it's not going to be business as usual. You have seen the ministers accompanying me in the field, and we have been acting on the same. So, right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we have taken note of all the concerns of members in the report. And I want to inform you, Madam Speaker, that we shall act.
Thank you.
We have recovered even some money, and we shall follow these recommendations up to the latter. And we shall come back here and report. Thank you so much.
Madam, Right Honorable Prime Minister, when are you reporting back?
Right Honorable Speaker, I request that you give us 2 months, because we have to, these are many institutions, 2 months, and I promise the results will be glaring.
Of course, the recommendations begin from now, and within 2 months' time, you can. She has spoken. You can't.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. What I would want to take issue with, Madam Speaker, now that the leader of government business has so far committed totally to handle, is the recentralization of previously decentralized functions is responsible for the negative impact on service delivery and even accountability. Because most of the developed functions are being re-centralized. Could you also address the question of a paradigm shift? You have to go back to the approach that was the objective of the decentralization policy, to address the issues of the undermined accountability. Accountability, and you know it is a very important principle of good governance. So good governance is lacking in that aspect because of the previously developed services being re-centralized.
Thank you so much, and of course that will come in the report, that the action that has been taken in the Treasury Memorandum. Prime Minister, I wish we could rethink of the road fund. As Parliament, we all members of Parliament are complaining about the road fund, but you find that most of the members of Parliament are chairpersons of the road committee. If in the next budget, it's a suggestion, in the next budget, if you allocated every district, say 1 billion shillings for a road fund, where a politician, a member of Parliament, is directly a chairperson, I think we would do very well with the roads. We would do very well with the roads. You allocate money and it goes direct to the district, where the member of Parliament is a chairperson of that committee. Me, I'm a chairperson of my committee in my district. And there you will manage the road fund properly.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the fact is, members of Parliament were always denied information. And this we have discovered, and the President of the Republic of Uganda has directed me to also instruct the Uganda Road Fund to gazette, to put in papers, to create a data bank where members of Parliament can access this information and get to know how much money has been put to the districts that are going to construct roads. And secondly, there are some districts where the chairpersons of road committees are chairpersons LC5. I have seen Mukono, Mpiji, Kabarole, and many others. So we have agreed with the Minister for Works that he writes a circular that these people, the chairperson 0C5, should relinquish that position to members of parliament. Yes. Right Honorable Speaker, we have also agreed that the district roads committees should sit regularly without fail, because what we have seen that the districts have been accounting through the chairpersons of district roads committees without the members themselves sitting to decide on how to use the money. And this must stop. So, colleague members of parliament, I request that you allot time to your districts to make sure that these roads that we are all clamoring to have are worked on. Thank you so much.
And I think we'll need to have an amendment to the act. We shall amend the act to that effect. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I just wanted to remind the Right Honourable Prime Minister, this matter has been on the floor on the road fund following the motion that we presented here. And just before we broke off for recess, the presiding officer, who was the Right Honourable Thomas Tayebwa, directed the Right Honourable Prime Minister to convene a meeting between the Ministries of Works, Attorney General, and the movers of that motion. And we are still waiting for the Right Honourable Prime Minister. Because, Right Honourable Speaker, even if you ask them to give districts 1 billion shillings, the problem is in finance. The road fund is starved of the funds it's supposed to receive as per the Road Act, the Road Fund Act. So unless we sit to follow through what the Constitution states, that money will not be there. So, Right Honourable Speaker, would it not be procedure right that the Prime Minister convenes this meeting as directed so that we can find a lasting solution to this problem?
Okay. Finance, did you give us the money for road fund?
Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister of Finance, we had a meeting with the President. I promised that I will cause a meeting with the concerned members, but also I wanted to give information to members. After many questions under your chair that came on this floor of Parliament, the President got concerned. He invited us. He said, where is the problem? Then he said, all that the money you have in the treasury, please give money to Uganda Road Fund. And money was given. UNRA was given almost 75%. We even front-loaded. Then the districts were given 50% of their annual budget. As we talk now, they have all paid up to 50%. Yes. If they are not giving information, I'm giving information.
Honourable members, as we said before, the problem is lack of information. They are not giving us of what we are getting in our districts. If we're getting, then you would be able to know what is there, and you would be able to do your oversight role. What the Prime Minister is saying is correct. The only problem is you don't have the information.
Right Honourable Speaker, what I'm informing this House are facts. Because there is no need for me to deceive. You instructed me, Madam Speaker. The President picked interest. It is true our roads are in dire need of rehabilitation. So we felt it necessary that we provide funds to the districts, which money we have given. Madam Speaker, I request that members go to their districts and get this information.
Now, honourable members, can you first sit? Honorable members, on Tuesday, Minister of Local Government, I want all members of Parliament in their pigeonholes to get how much money they have received in their districts. And I'm saying on Tuesday, we should get information in regard to how much has been disbursed to our district. The moment you get that, then we'll be debating with the information, with the facts. So let's first get that for Tuesday. I now put a question that the report of the Public Accounts Committee, Local Government, on the report of the Auditor General for the financial year 2020-2021 on the 4 districts, 4 district local governments and 2 municipal councils be adopted by this House. Those in favor say under control and nay. Plus amendments. Plus amendments. Those in favor say under control and nay. The ayes have it. Next item. Now I urge the clerk to extract the recommendations and what has been adopted by this House and forward it for action. And we expect a report from you within 2 months, and the recommendations must start with immediate effect.
Item number 5, motion for resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow.
Honorable members, as I guided yesterday, the appropriation role of the legislature especially involves the approval of ways and means of generating revenue to finance the priorities. Honorable members, as you recall, on May 20th, 2022, this House approved a budget of 48.1 trillion shillings with the various funding sources. Domestic revenue was Uganda shillings 25 trillion, 0.7. Grants was 2.616 trillion. Domestic borrowing was 12.97 trillion, and external borrowing was 7.1 trillion. In specific reference to this loan request, the House in principle, and I'm saying the House in principle, approved this loan during the appropriation. What was approved was the loan, and what is supposed to be presented now is the terms and the conditions of borrowing. The motion is in furtherance to Article 159(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The Committee of National Economy has exhaustively looked at the loan under Rule 1552. The question would be, why didn't I use Rule 1551? I want to refer you to Rule 8 of the Rules of Procedure, that the Speaker has powers, and I used my prerogative to refer it direct because of the urgency of the matter, and that is how I did it. And I am doing it because of the issues that we have in our constituencies. We are saying we don't have money for Ebola. We want to know, after approving, is money going to be given for Ebola? Is money going to be given for road fund? And based on that, therefore, there is a report that is ready, but could I have the motion moved by the Minister?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to euros 455.03 million, and equivalent to United States dollars 464.13 million from the Standard Chartered Bank and other finance institutions to finance the development and infrastructure budget for the financial year 2022-2023. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Is it seconded? Is the motion seconded? Seconded by the Government Chief Whip, Commissioner James Afande, by the whole of this side, including Ebwalu. Ebwalu, I can see Ebwalu there. I can see Mapendusi. I can see. Honorable members. Honorable members, I just want to re-echo to you what we approved as Parliament. And I'm happy my brother, the shadow, is here from Butambala. What we approved during appropriation and what is in the Appropriation Act is external borrowing of 7.16 trillion. What is being borrowed today, the motion that we have before us, is 1.7, meaning we still have more to borrow. Honorable members, the report is ready. Would you want to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, you have already emphasized the key salient issues in the motion, and I want to suggest that the chairperson of the committee adds on. In the interest of time, we move faster.
Honorable members, I am also aware that there is a minority report on this loan borrowing. I don't know whether it is on borrowing or on the terms. And one thing I need to advise, this letter was signed by Honorable Kirumira. Honorable Kirumira, in the next letter that you write, kindly quote the proper rule. The rule on a minority report is 205, not 202. And of course, a wrong provision does not provide you with a remedy. A wrong provision of the law does not provide you with a remedy. But since it is the first time, I don't want to be seen like we are suffocating the honorable member. It is his right. We are not suffocating him, but it is a correction that we are making. Next time we'll use the right role, and he will go ahead and present his minority. Honorable Chair, can you give us a summary of your report?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, before I go through the report, allow me lay the minutes of the Committee on National Economy, the report, and attached is the minority report from some members who dissented. Right Honorable Speaker, the report I'm going to read is the report on the Committee of National Economy on the proposal by government to borrow up to 455.03 million euros, equivalent to 464.13 million US dollars from the Standard Chartered Bank
and other finance institutions to finance the development and infrastructure budget for the financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable Speaker, I may not, since you're urging me that I should do
UBC, inspiring Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Gatawa with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. Food and drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. You can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
Procedure, the Committee of National Economy received the business from this House to process the terms of borrowing of $455 million on the 1st of November this year. Right Honorable Speaker, the background to the borrowing. Right Honorable Speaker, this House approved a budget of 48.13 trillion to finance the expenditure for the financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable Speaker, the budget was to be financed through domestic revenue, including appropriation in aid amounting to about 25.7 trillion, the grant amount amounting to 2.16 trillion, and the rest of the budget deficit was to be financed through external funding, which was external funding of 7.1 trillion, of which directly, I believe, this borrowing falls in. Right Honorable Speaker, with regard to the performance of the resource envelope, the committee was informed that the cumulative net revenue collection for the quarter one, financial year 2022-2023, amounted to 5.4 trillion against the approved projection of about 5.233 trillion, registering a surplus of 177 billion Uganda shillings. The tax revenue amount accounted for 78%, which is about 139.6 billion and of the surplus, while the non-tax revenue component accounted for 22%, which is about 38.3 billion for the quarter one surplus domestic revenue. On the other hand, Right Honorable, domestic borrowing had performed at 33% of quarter one target, realizing only 505.9 billion Uganda shillings, leaving a deficit of 1 trillion and 37 billion. Right Honorable, attached is, unfortunately we don't have, but attached is the performance of the resource as per quarter one, financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable, you'll allow me go ahead to read on the narrative.
Honorable Leon York. York, first seat. York, your first seat.
Right Honorable Speaker, by the end of Q1, financial year 2022-2023, government had not received any budget support, both in form of loans or grant. The committee was further informed that the IMF budget support loan that we expected about 125 million US dollars. In Q1 had not yet been disbursed.
Let me hear from Leon. Honorable Leon.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity given to me. Right Honorable Speaker, the matter we are handling now is very, very important for this country. The amount of money that we intend to borrow as a loan, it is not a very small amount of money. Right Honorable Speaker, we as a country, if we had, we wouldn't subject ourselves to borrowing. I know we are borrowing because we are in a situation that needs finances. However, Right Honorable Speaker, the chairman of the committee cannot come to the floor of this parliament and bring a summary of his report, and to make it worse, go ahead and tell this house that a copy of which, oh sorry, I don't have. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg, is the chairman in order to present for us his report without even any evidence of the various sectoral committees' report? Is he in order?
Which sectoral committee reports did you expect?
The loan is meant to facilitate various activities which fall under various sectoral committees. Therefore, according to Rule 155, the minister was supposed to come here, present the request of the loan, after which he has done, yes, after which the Speaker allows the various committee reports on the loan to be presented. Yes, that's Rule 55, 155. It gives the provisions.
Honorable Leon.
So is he in order to come here and give us a report which is not detailed for such amount of money?
Honorable Leon, you have made your point. And I'm happy that you've made a statement after that apology. Now you have made a statement. Now the public knows you are around. Huh? Have a seat. Sit. It's public knowledge. You are now a free man. You're out. You're there. I suspended Rule 1551 using the powers that I am given under Rule 8, and said because of the urgency of the matter, we are now using Rule 1552, Sub-Rule 2. Sub-Rule 2, the Speaker shall commit the proposed loan or guarantee request to the Committee on National Economy and the relevant sectoral committees, which is on 1, which I suspended. And when you say that the chairperson is making summaries, I am following this report. I don't know whether you have the report. I am following this report because you're saying what was uploaded, you can't see. The chair is reading word by word. He's reading word by word. Unless you want to keep straight, even now, even my sister Christine has it. You're using your personal data, but you're seeing. Very good girl. Can you go ahead and read the report?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your guidance. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to inform the members that since you're not going through
and I want to remind the honorable members that you people approved this loan.
We approved the money.
You approved the money. And you approved the 7 trillion. Now they only want 1.7 trillion. You are the ones. I am happy the Minister of Agriculture is here. Minister of Agriculture, while you are away, our cows are dying of foot and mouth disease. And we are told you don't have money. And now we want money to treat our animals.
Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to inform the members that since you complained that you didn't have the report in the iPads, I decided to go through the report word by word. Except for the table.
Kindly listen.
Except for the table. I jumped the table, but I can still go back and read the table. Huh? Because I had already given you the narrative, honorable members. Huh? Honorable members.
Now, honorable members.
Honorable members.
Listen. Honorable members. This is not anything that is new to you. Don't push me to the corner, because I am going to ask both the minority team and this other team to summarize. It is not anything new. You're going to borrow for a budget support. And then I will ask this side to respond to the issues that have been raised from the minority report. Can you summarize your report?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable
And
Speaker.
I'm saying I want a summary.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to try to summarize as you've guided. Microphone.
Go to your observations and recommendations, then I will get from the minority, and I will expect the responses from government on the minority.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'll go direct to the observations. Right Honorable Speaker, the observation number 1 is the need to enhance domestic revenues. The committee noted that an increase in revenue collection reduces the country's budget deficit and consequently her reliance on debt. In effect, keeping public debt at sustainable level over the years, domestic revenues have stagnated around 13% of the GDP, despite the growth in the economy. Tax collections remain below the sub-Saharan average of 15%. Uganda's economy is dominated by informal sector, which constitutes about 55%, implying limited tax collections. In addition, most of the taxes are generated from a smaller formal sector. The committee noted that in a bid to enhance revenue collections, government developed the domestic revenue mobilization strategy in 2029, 2020, 2023, 2024. The core objective of the strategy is to improve the revenue collection and raise Uganda's tax to GDP ratio from 12.5% to 16 or 18% within the 5 financial years. Further, the revenue strategy over the third National Development Plan period envisages improving compliance and efficiency in tax revenue collection through the implementation of the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. Emphasis is given to strengthening administrative efforts so as to narrow the gap between current and potential revenue performance. The committee noted that although there has been an increase in revenue collection over the years, a large portion of additional revenue is spent towards public administration, thus increasing the borrowing need to finance the government's development agenda. In addition, government loses a lot of revenue through tax exemptions and illicit financial flows, thus contributing to low tax revenue realized and failure to attain the tax to GDP of the country's peer in the sub-Saharan region. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should review and present to Parliament a tax exemption policy with a view of streamlining the tax burden proportionally. In addition, Uganda Revenue Authority should widen the tax base through registering informal businesses, curb unqualified tax expenditures, and illicit financial flows. Further, the committee recommends that government puts a halt on creation of further administrative units that have resulted in two recurrent Right Honorable Speaker, the other observation is the need for early and timely sourcing of creditors. The committee observed that budgets are approved with resource envelopes that indicate planned borrowing to finance the budget deficits, among others. However, during the implementation, the creditors are identified and the loan terms submitted to Parliament later for approval, sometimes as late as third quarter of the financial year. Most of the terms are unfavorable, especially non-concessional terms for the budget support loans, noting that the budget would have already been approved, leading to approval of loans at expensive terms, given the absence of timely alternatives, and a rejection would imply failure to finance the already approved budget. The committee recommends that government considers submitting the draft budgets for approval together with the proposed creditors and their proposed terms and the financial terms for the proposed budget support borrowing, to ensure that budget is approved with the budget support loans whose credit terms and conditions are agreeable to Parliament, just as it is with the revenue bills. The other observation, Right Honorable Speaker, is the need to bring down the cost of borrowing. The committee observed that in the proposed borrowing, Standard Chartered Bank is the mandated lead arranger, an investment agent, and a structuring global coordinating bank. The bank is playing three roles which attract different costs. In addition, there is a broker who is also paid a different fee. This implies that the cost of borrowing increases through intermediaries, which would have otherwise been avoided if government was procuring this loan through a direct sourcing. The committee recommends that government devises means of direct sourcing of financing from creditors so as to bring down the cost of borrowing. observation number 4, Right Honorable, the need to protect the sovereignty of the country. The committee noted that one of the clauses in the draft financing agreement is the waiver of immunity, whereby government consents generally in respect of any legal action or proceedings arising out of or in connection with any financial document of any given relief or issue of any process in connection with such action or proceeding, including with the limitation, the making, enforcement, and execution against any property whatsoever in respect of its use or intended use, of any or judgment which may be made or given in such action or proceedings. The clause further stipulates that government irrevocably agrees not to claim or irrevocably waives such immunity to the extent permitted by the laws of such jurisdiction and in accordance with the State Immunity Act 1978. And without limitation, government waives generally all immunity it or on its assets or revenue may otherwise have in any jurisdiction over all the properties. Over all the properties except for a few like defense, security, and natural resources. It is from the enforcement of any form of judgment to enforce the agreement and requiring government to pay all legal fees and insurance premium on behalf of the creditor. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should renegotiate the provisions relating to waiver of sovereignty, sovereign immunity to avoid exposing critical government assets to creditors in the event of default. In conclusion, government is seeking to borrow 455 million euros to finance the budget for the financial year 2022. With the proposed borrowing, debt will remain sustainable over the medium to long term, to the extent to which the debt sustainability analysis assumptions are realized. Since the loan is in foreign currency, government needs to boost exports to ensure that there is sufficient foreign currency to service the foreign debt in the short to medium term, while improving the current account balance. Government should, in addition, enhance domestic revenue mobilization as a sure means to reduce the fiscal deficit and ensure that the debt service obligation is met. It is clear that with the increased budget realization, government will finance the approved budget 2022-2023 through thus increase its potential to boost economic growth through increased aggregate demand in the economy, especially when most funds are spent in the country to provide the much needed counter-physical policy support at the time when the economy is recovering. Failure to approve the request implies that approved development budget for the financial year 2022-2023 will not be financed. The committee therefore recommends that subject to the observations and recommendations therein, the House approves a request by government to borrow up to 455 million euros from the Standard Chartered Bank and other financing institutions to finance the development and infrastructure budget for 2022-2023. I beg to report.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Hassan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Chiromira Hassan, representing the people of Katikam South. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to present a minority report on the proposal to borrow euros 455.03 million to finance the development and infrastructure budget for the financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Rule 205 of the Rules of Procedure, the Parliament of Uganda, we hereby present a dissenting opinion from the opinion of the majority of the committee. We dissented with majority of the committee on fundamental issues below. First and foremost was the financing terms. 2, the purpose of the loan, and most importantly, the non-compliance of the loan, of the procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development negotiated this loan in March 2022. And that's according to the documents that were submitted before the committee. The same ministry, without revealing the massively unfair terms of this loan facility, allowed this House to pass the budget on the 20th of May. Of course, we all know that we budgeted to borrow 2.5 trillion in respect to budget support. But the fundamental error, Right Honorable Speaker, was hiding the terms and condition of this particular loan. Right Honorable Speaker, the terms of this loan are closer to a typical money lender to government. Now, approving these terms without strict scrutiny and recommendation by this House.
I expect you to be honorable enough and listen to what honorable is reading and not shouting like market vendors.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kirumira, go ahead.
Approving these terms, Right Honorable Speaker, without proper scrutiny will definitely amount to an error, and it will be against our representative role as leaders in the August House. We have the loan amount totaling to 455 million euros that is supposed to be paid over a period of 10 years, and that is the loan tenure. The upfront fees of 1.5, interest rate of 4.25, and the guarantee fee of 10%. And this is a once-off lump sum that is supposed to be paid upfront. Now, if you work out only the 10% of this loan, it amounts to 45 million euros. Right Honorable Speaker, this is total plunder to our Ugandan taxpayers, because it seems to be a cut. We do not know where it is going. According to the loan agreement, it is the Standard Chartered Bank, UK, that is the lead arranger of this loan. And the other inconsistency with this particular leader or broker of this loan is that they are not willing to pay any cent in form of taxes to our country. Looking at the terms of this agreement, it is purely commercial loan. And we believe that the Standard Chartered Bank UK is doing business with the government of Uganda. And because they are doing business, they have an obligation to pay taxes to our government, especially when they are running away with 45 million euros. Right Honorable Speaker, the effective rate and costs associated with the loan is considered to be too high for Uganda, and in effect, the value of the total loan in euros of 455 is what we are talking about. But the actual take home, the actual amount that we are getting as a country is 409.5 million euros. Of course, this is upfront. Remember, we're supposed to pay 45 million euros upfront to Standard Chartered Bank UK. So now that difference between what we are supposed to get and the actual amount that is coming to us in form of a loan is totally unacceptable. Now, the loan agreement, Right Honourable Speaker, between the government of Uganda, represented by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, of course, the leading, with the leading broker, Standard Chartered Bank, representing those different companies or institutions that have been mentioned by the chairperson, is totally unacceptable with very high and ambiguous costs. In a letter from the Attorney General to the Standard Chartered Bank dated the 25th of October 2022, which was given to us during the committee meetings, the Attorney General is not comfortable with some of the clauses of the loan, the terms and the waivers in this loan agreement. It is interesting, Right Honourable Speaker, that part of the agreement was from an Islamic banking institution, the IEC, with a specific product called Marhaba, which does not attract interest. Islamic banking is basically interest-free because interests are against Sharia laws. Now, we are being presented with a loan from an Islamic institution that is attracting interests, and we do not understand who is taking the interests that are accruing to this particular loan. Right Honourable Speaker, the purpose of this loan, of course, at the heart of this loan request is a trap for Parliament to blindly fall in, a trap to borrow for the development budget, specific projects including roads, water, energy, education and health, without separating the loan money from the URA revenue. And that most times we know it gets misplaced. Now, this is very expensive loan with a specific purpose, and therefore it cannot be mixed with attractive domestic resources. Till today, we've been asking the minister to present a list.
Honorable Leon, are you praying? Honorable Leon, Honorable Leon, Honorable Leon, I don't want you people to think that the speaker is a bad person. I am giving you the last, and I'm saying the last warning. Behave honorably. We talk about decorum, and yet we don't practice it ourselves. Why should you behave like that? Is anybody borrowing a loan for himself? Or, I mean, let's be responsible enough. Let's have respect for each other. You may disagree on principle, but you don't have to act like that. Hassan?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I was mentioning that at the heart of this loan request is a trap for this Parliament to blindly fall in, a trap to borrow the development budget, specifically to finance roads, water, energy, education and health, without separating this loan money from our revenues may be problematic in terms of separating what is supposed to do what. Now, Right Honourable Speaker, we are very clear with the Minister during the committee meetings that we requested the Minister to present a list of development projects that are going to be funded using this particular loan of 455 million euros. Because the idea was that if we are borrowing for development projects, then we need to ring fence this particular loan to specifically go for those respective projects. But up to now, we've not got any list to that effect. Right Honorable Speaker, Rule 155, Sub-Rule 5, the Rules of Procedure, goes further to guide specific requirements for documents to be laid, and this of course includes the data from the National Planning Authority, clearing the loan as being consistent with macroeconomic variables, as well as effect of debt repayment on liquidity in the coming budgets. Right Honorable Speaker, the letter from the NPA has not been laid in this House to support the members in assessing this loan request. This letter by NPA goes to core of planning and our national debt management, and therefore cannot be taken as a mere formality by this House. What the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development laid before the committee was a certificate of compliance of the annual budget for the financial year 2001 to 22. How do we approve a loan to affect future loan repayment without an opinion of government chief planner? I mean, really how? Our recommendation, Right Honorable Speaker, in summary, we expect Standard Chartered Bank to meet the tax obligation if they are really brokering this loan, because they are going away with our money. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker, our prayer, given the poor terms of this agreement and the failure of government to provide a schedule and a list specifying the development projects to be funded by this loan, we recommend that this August House support the minority report and reject this loan request. Of course, we encourage the government to look for better loan facilities that are more concessional with better terms that will help protect the sovereignty of our country. Right Honorable Speaker, we owe our country a constitutional mandate of approving loans, and of course approving loans to actualize our budget. But this type of loans, Right Honorable Speaker, that are commercial have a negative effect on the future budgets of our country, and they have a toll on our taxpayers we represent in this August House. Right Honorable Speaker, there's an information. You can take it.
You cannot have information on a report. Learn the rules.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Kiro Mira Hassan. And can I have a response from the Minister of Finance on issues of dissent? But before you go on issues responding, I'm looking at the issue of compliance to the relevant laws and rules. My presumption is that as I said before, the reason I administratively referred the loan request to the committee prior to the House sitting was due to the urgency. Any delay would impede government intention in financing the budget priorities. I am not responding to the priorities, but I'm responding to my administrative action, which is my responsibility as the head of the institution. Where I feel this must be done, it has to be done. And I did it without any regret. I used the rules of procedure that are made by this House. At that point when the loan came, we had a business committee, which business committee even gave me powers to refer the loan and the bills to the relevant committees. and which I did pursuant to Rule 1552 of the Rules of Procedure. I suspended Rule 1551 because it is not an entrenched rule. And I did that with the powers invested on me under Rule 7 and 8. So, on review of that, I did it within the laws. The rest can be answered by the minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
But if I could ask, if I could ask, how come that this document was brought to my attention and was not taken to the committee? The NPA, the letter from NPA, why wasn't it laid to the committee?
Right Honorable, I don't know why the member is questioning that the letter from NPA was not laid before the committee. The minister brought the letter and laid it before the committee. Probably the member did not see the letter, but the letter was laid before the committee. The letter was circulated to all members.
Why was the list of projects not laid to the committee? Because I have a list which was given to me.
Right Honorable Speaker, all the documents that we had questioned in the first meeting we had with the minister were brought before the committee and they were laid before the committee. The problem is that they are just single papers that members probably had not seen. Yes. But that is the truth. Huh?
Give me my documents. Give me my documents. They are my documents.
Right.
Honorable Chivumbi, can we first hear from the minister, then you as a shadow, you will respond? You give a rebuttal.
Just a small question.
Yes.
Chair, being honest to this parliament is so critical. I appeared before this committee and Honorable Minister Musasizi was present and the Chief Whip. In that meeting, members requested for that list. And the chair, the vice chair was the one presiding over. That list, until we left that meeting, was not provided.
Right Honorable Speaker, I attended both meetings. I'm a member of this committee. I attended the Monday meeting and yesterday's meeting. And the concern of members were that the minister had not provided enough documents for them to process the loan. I personally raised it, that members will have a volume of documents. If our weakness is that we cannot read now, you can maybe talk about the time, but the documents are here. All the documents were served with us. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Baka.
Madam Speaker, I'm also a member of the committee. I wish to inform the House that indeed the documents were supplied and we read them.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Can we first have him respond? Then let him first respond, then you will give information.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to appreciate Honorable Chirumira for the minority report, and I wish to respond to his issues as follows. Number one, in regard to the loan tenure, being 10 years.
Honorable members, listen. I want to refer you to Rule 83C. I want to refer you to that rule and I want you to attentively listen to the response of the minority report. And you find most of the issues that are being raised in the minority report are very important issues that help us in improving on what we do. So let's listen to the responses.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I wish to respond to the issues raised in the minority report as follows. Number one, in regard to the loan tenure being short, i.e. 10 years, given the effective interest rates of the loan, increasing the loan tenure beyond 10 years would increase the cost of debt servicing by increasing the interest the country would have to pay. In other words, I'm saying the longer the period, the more the interest cost, and this increases the obligation to government. Number two, in regard to the loan guarantee fee of 10%, the ministry received expressions of interest from 12 financial institutions, and in consideration of the different financing offers, the cheapest option was selected. I would like to invite Parliament to note that insured loans with guarantee fees have cheaper interest rates than those that are uninsured. For instance, while the proposal by Standard Chartered Bank bore a guarantee fee of 1% per annum or a flat fee of 10%, it also bore a low interest margin of 1.9%, whereas other financing institutions, such as the syndicated tranche from Trade Development Bank and Citibank, bore an annual interest margin of 6.3% per annum, which even without a guarantee fee was way far expensive. In regard to the effective rate and the cost of borrowing, Madam Speaker, the committee scrutinized the loan proposal and has clearly stated in its report that this was the cheapest financing option available to government. In regard to Attorney General not being comfortable with some of the clauses, Rule 1555A provides that Parliament, in consideration of their own proposal, considers the draft financing agreement, which indeed the committee has considered. This implies that the final financing agreement will incorporate the recommendations made by Parliament and the Attorney General. The Attorney General has indeed written back to Standard Chartered Bank to renegotiate some of these clauses. In addition, the Committee on National Economy has also made recommendations in this regard, which will be incorporated in the final agreement. In regard to the interest payments and the Sharia law, the government of Uganda is dealing with Standard Chartered Bank as a lead arranger of this credit facility. Therefore, all loan disbursements will be from Standard Chartered Bank. In effect,
Honorable, are you a member of the committee? Okay.
In effect, Madam Speaker, the debt service payments will also be made to Standard Chartered Bank. The Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit did not express direct interest
Is it a
to
procedure on
Ministry
the
of
report?
Finance following the call
Let him finish, then you will say what
for
you want to say.
proposals.
What is your procedure?
Madam Speaker, there's something fundamental wrong with this loan.
Which law?
Article 159 of our Constitution dictates that the loan conditions and the terms must come to this Parliament, and Parliament must approve them as part of the loan request.
But you're part of the committee. You've not signed on the main report. You've not signed on the minority.
Can I finish?
And yet you attended the committee. So if you could not express your views in the committee, then sit down.
Madam Speaker, allow me finish.
Sit down. You cannot. You're a member of the committee. Can you continue?
Madam Speaker, in regard the issue of National Planning Authority has already been responded to by the committee chairperson, and also, Madam Speaker, in your possession, you have a letter of clearance from National Planning Authority. Madam Speaker, in regard to the tax on interest income, Madam Speaker, the payment of taxes would lead to increase in the cost of the loan to government of Uganda. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that even in project financing, where we get financing to directly finance projects, we have a provision called deeming of taxes, where we provide that the due taxes are deemed to have been paid. Because if we were to make these projects pay taxes, it would lead to increase the cost of borrowing. And this is why we are including a clause that the interest on the income will not attract tax. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister, when you scouted around, was this the best loan that you could get with the best interest?
Madam Speaker, out of 12 proposals which we received, this is the best proposal. Madam Speaker, the objective here is to look, the most important issue here is what is the effective interest rate that will be paid. And in this arrangement, the effective interest rate will be 5.24%. And even if you look at the global markets, not only here, this is the best competitive rate you can get in the market right now, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chivombi.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, let's first deal with first things first. Article 159, powers of government to borrow. Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, government may borrow from any source. B, government shall not borrow or guarantee or raise a loan on behalf of itself or any other public institution, authority or person, except as authorized by or under the Act of Parliament. I'm interested in 3. An Act of Parliament made under Clause 2 of this article shall provide A, that the terms and conditions of the loan shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless they've been approved by a resolution of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister has just stated that the terms are yet to be revised. as per the advice of the Attorney General, and is in agreement with the majority report, which recommended and even questioned sovereignty. Now, we cannot approve this loan because the purpose, as you stated, is clear. When we were passing the revenue side, we approved a 2.5 expenditure of budget support, trillion. Therefore, what is required of this House largely is to approve terms. We cannot approve a process of renegotiation. Therefore, as it stands now, the hands of this Parliament are tied because we cannot approve terms that are still being renegotiated, which is before we even go very far. So it follows we need to come here with the finality, and we look at these terms and say they are okay. Now, from a minority report and a majority report, there are agreement on some provisions of the terms, including the one that puts our sovereignty at hazard. And for me, that is very, very critical. And I would love the minister to concede that as we stand now, this loan cannot be approved because you cannot approve the terms that are still being negotiated. Right, Honorable Speaker. And that's a constitutional mandate. I've read the Constitution as is. Right, Honorable Speaker. The other argument being flying around that government is stuck, is that there is no money to do work. I believe, Right Honorable Speaker, this is blackmail of this Parliament. They have just spent under 3%, 1.4 trillion in supplementary expenditure. And the minister, where this is honest, where have they spent the money? 89 billion given to Sudil to build a marina. They've just given 127 billion to Atiak. They've just spent 800 of our money on defense expenditures. They've just spent part of that money, 135 billion on classified expenditure under State House. So there is no scarcity of resources. There is wrong appropriation of the needs of the country. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, that argument which they are flying to you to say there is a crisis of liquidity in the country, they've just told us URA has performed its target by 200 billion in this quarter. Therefore, that is not to be done. That's not the argument that they can fly and create an artificial crisis for wrongly first expending money on wrong things, then they leave the fundamental and come to Parliament and blackmail and stampede this Parliament. It is high time we stopped this blackmail by making a very solid resolution to reject it. Right Honorable Speaker, the other issue at hand are very critical, Right Honorable Speaker. This loan, as it is, worldwide, there is no loan in the world today where 10% of the loan goes to an insurance. We all borrow money. We all pay insurance on our small loans. The loan fee is normally for insurance around between 1 and 2%. It can't be 10% of the loan. And Right Honorable Speaker, from my perspective, where I stand, this is a poor deal, wrongly negotiated. The firewall to stop this lies with this Parliament. We must raise the courage, the strength of character to speak true to power, including the executive, and tell them enough is enough.
Honorable Chair.
Information. Information.
Honorable Minister.
Madam
Chair.
Chair.
For what?
Okay.
You're a member of the committee.
Yes.
You doctored the minority.
Yes. I signed on the minority.
Can you sit?
I wanted to give information.
Honorable members, for me, my work is simple. Is to listen from both of you and put a question. So if you don't want to listen to each other, that's not my business. You get it, eh? So I am saying let the minister respond to what has been raised by Honorable Chivumbi.
Madam Speaker, what Honorable Chivumbi has said needs to be qualified as follows, and I wish to invite him to listen. What we are considering what he's talking about refers to the general legal clauses like the waiver of immunity and others. Those ones the Attorney General, after this process, will go ahead and conclude. What we are looking at now, the terms he's referring to, are the financing terms and conditions. And all these financing terms and conditions have been presented to Parliament. We are when you talk about the financing terms, you are looking at the interest rate, you are looking at the tenure, and all those things. And we have provided all that, and there is nothing we are going to change.
What did you say last?
James.
There is nothing you want to do.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would want to invite colleagues, especially on the Committee of National Economy, to be prudent enough to us, because, Madam Speaker, when I hear a minority report referring to terms, and you say terms were not referred to, it is something very tricky. Because the terms have been referred to, but according to Honorable Minister, he's saying the incorporation of the amendments will inform the final
legal
agreement
after the
approval. Because it will incorporate the approved terms by this House. Madam Speaker, another thing is, even when we argue and fight here, tomorrow we are going to be raising matters of public importance that roads have not been worked on. How do you want us to, how do you want the roads to be financed? Honorable colleagues, I would want, Madam Speaker, that as we move ahead to galvanize our efforts, we are looking at issues that are very salient in managing our budget allocation. Madam Speaker, where I have issues, while I support this, I support this law to be passed, I have issues which are very critical. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance should stop. Madam Speaker, we sat here for almost 16 hours assessing the appropriation bill. We left some issues because of reasons. Immediately, they went and financed them, as Honorable Chivumbi has said. That one is creating a big gap where you leave out the critical issues that have been passed by Ugandans through this parliament, and you go to finance other issues which are a priority of you people in the Ministry of Finance. To me, Madam Speaker, with that, I think, honorable colleagues, I want to invite you. Let's pass this law, and we move. Then we assess the performance of our budget performance. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Fox, there is a
right,
motion
Madam
from
Speaker,
Fox.
to move a motion that Madam Speaker,
There
you
is a
put a
motion
question
from Fox.
that we pass this.
Folks, are you going to do this to us?
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion that you put the question that the loan be approved. I beg to move.
Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Obua, by
Madam Speaker.
Musasizi.
Madam Speaker.
No. Why don't you sit? Even by Frank Tumweba say, there is a motion. Alioni. What? Hey, there is Angura also here. Okay. Even Kibedi is there. Honorable members, I told you my work is simple. My work is very simple. You are the owners of the house. Honorable members, I now put a question. Listen. I want to hear anybody shouting. Listen. If you're going to say no, say no. Honorable members, I now put a question that a motion of resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to euros 3550.3 million, equivalent to 455.03 million, equivalent to USD 464.13 million from Standard Chartered Bank and other financial institutions as budget support to finance the development and infrastructure budget for the financial year 2022-2023 be approved by this House. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. Honorable members, you can shout and even climb to the ayes have it. Honorable members, the House is adjourned to Tuesday.